Hello, hello, hello to this fine Wednesday. It feels like it's been a while. It hasn't really, but it feels like it's been a while. Windstream, right now. What happened with Cred this week? He is traveling the world, and I guess didn't have time. We didn't really talk, but I think he's traveling the world and couldn't make time for it. But yeah, he'll be back, I'm sure. When Duck meme coin? Never. Not interested. Hey Duck, happy surprised to see you tonight. Good evening. I mean, it's technically Wednesday, and technically every single Wednesday we have a show. But yeah, I've been bad. I apologize. We've been bad. It will get better. It's a lot of stuff on both my and Cred's plate right now. So that is why. But like I said, that'll change. 2 red months coming. Yeah, we'll talk about it. I think the daily is the worst looking time frame. Like the monthly and the weekly closed much better than they could have. The daily kind of looks like shit. Like this is absolute garbage, trash tier chart right in front of you. The weekly and the monthly are okay. So if you're bull, there's hope. If you're bear, you could be like, hey, this hope is cope. But yeah, we'll go over that. I think Bitcoin's gonna be where we spend most of our time today, and then we'll go down the list. What happened to last Saturday's altcoin stream? I don't think it ever happened. Like I said, Cred's on travel right now, and we do these together. So I was just like, it's just kind of odd to do them alone. All good with the kid? Yes, she's doing excellent. Anyway, before we start the show, big shout out to Woo for sponsoring it. Really appreciate their support. They've been excellent partners. Go check them out if you want to. Their links are in the description. If not, also okay. But they've been excellent. I've been enjoying using the exchange as well. So halving doesn't matter. Already priced in. Yeah, I mean the halving just generally, I don't think it's too big a deal nowadays, and it's gonna get less and less of a big deal. Anyway, shall we start? Let's start, I would say. The monthly time frame. So we were talking about it last month, and I was like, if this closes red, it's fucked. Instead, it just completely and fully reversed and closed above both resistances, which is good news. Turns this technically green, and also turns this green. So now we don't have any resistances left on the monthly, but we've had in the first few days of this month had quite a bit of trouble, and you could argue, hey, this was just a false breakout, whatever. But also, I mean, breakout is technically real until it's not, right? So the monthly doesn't look that bad, and I will, like, towards the end of the month, like, when I see these kind of closes, right, I'm like, okay, how can I take advantage of it, right? Because technically it closed above resistance, and the best way to do so would be if this, like, if you trade quite a bit lower than the support, and do so until until like a week before the next close. There's a good chance, like, let's say this trade's down here, right? There's a good chance that until the close, so like in the last week of the month or something, you get a positive price action. You reverse it, and then it's just all the wick, and it looks quite good again. That's would be one way to kind of take advantage of this on the larger scale. Just look for bullish setups towards the end of the month if it trades lower, right? Or just generally. I mean, you can also just be like, hey, I think the support, like everything below the support is bullshit, and I'm gonna buy it. For me personally, like, it's more interesting towards the end of the month, especially given how shit low time frames look, right? But yeah, that's one thing that I'm gonna watch towards the end of the month. Like I said, are we gonna trade like lower into support? And if so, maybe there's gonna be a buy opportunity there, and then it's actually gonna close above the higher support down here, up here. Anyway, otherwise it's the monthly chart, right? There's not that much that you can get from it. Otherwise, other than the trend is strong, trend is up, and resistances have been doing nothing. Like we had a really nice setup last month for the bears to kind of take advantage of a little bit of weakness, and that didn't happen. Now that could just be bulls being over eager, and it reverses this month. ITA isn't really like TA isn't real. No, TA cannot really predict all these things, right? It's just setups basically. But yeah, monthly doesn't look that bad. I think that's firmly on the bullish side of things, and you'd be wanting to look for bullish setups, right? And I think like a dip towards like 57, like a dip in this support before turning like basically wicking down here would be interesting, because then maybe it wicks back up all the way towards 70, a little bit higher. Anyway, monthly is looking good. There's no need to worry on that front. The worries kind of start happening on the lower time frames. Weekly time frame also not that bad. We got a new highest close above the all-time high, but immediately reversed off of it. And now we're trading quite a bit lower than last week, which is obviously not ideal. But technically could be a wick, right? When you look at this, it's the same story as on the monthly time frame, closed above resistance. Now it's trading below. Might be a discounted entry, might just be that last week was bullshit. Never know. But yeah. Sadly, there's no real good setups. The one time frame that's been excellent has been the daily time frame actually. There's been 7 green monthly candles back to back. That's the first. Yeah, I never gave much to that, because every single cycle people are like, oh, this is the first time we've had like 7 weekly candles here to the upside or whatever. I mean, this was probably more, but anyway, like every single cycle people find something new, akin to like, oh yeah, this is the most monthly green candles we've ever had. It's just how the market works, right? You get a bunch and then you break records and then you go and do random shit. It's just, I wouldn't give too much weight to that. But anyway, the weekly time frame closed above all-time high, which is good. Now, obviously, this week needs to hold above 69K. Like that's still the line in the sand. We're trading below it right now, and the daily time frame looks quite shit. So we'll see if that actually happens. If not, they're support at 60 and support at 52. But the week is still long, right? We have 4 days left, so that's gonna be more interesting towards the weekly close as well. But yeah, there's not that much to be said there. It's just a chart trading at all-time high. The one chart that I find quite interesting and quite good, honestly, has been the daily time frame. It's something that I've been kind of observing and trading a little bit. Just trading around a little bit and been having a little bit of fun. We had the high, we broke that down, and I was like, the moment we broke it down, I was like, as long as we're above here, it makes sense to be quite aggressively bullish. And then when we're trading lower than this, I was like, below here it's bearish. And we did kind of nuke, went into support, bounced, got another bounce, ran all the way back to that resistance, but couldn't manage to break through, right? And when we were kind of like breaking through this, I think this is where the last stream was, like 7 days ago, like ish, somewhere here. I was like, the worst thing that could happen is obviously breaking 68K to the downside and closing below it. And that's exactly what happened, right? Which makes this look like you have a lower high. And I mean, it doesn't even just look like it, in my opinion, it's just a lower high. And this support is a pretty shitty one. It was already quite shitty. I mean, it worked quite well on the left side of things, but it was a shitty support nonetheless. and now I think it's even worse. So we're kind of in a situation where we have a support here with 2 tests. We have a shitty support here that we're kind of chilling above, and that's the one that actually has to hold, because I think, and I mean, I did say this last time too, and that turned out to be wrong, right? I was like, we tested this. I was like, if we test it again, I think it's gonna fail. It didn't, but now I'm pretty sure we test this again, it's gonna fail. So this is the support that needs to hold. That's where we are right now. So I mean, if you're a betting man, bullish, you would want to take a bet here on the low time frames, but I really don't like this price action right now. And I think generally speaking, there's a better trade to be had, and that is above this red line here, because basically we have a high here, we have a lower high here. If we break this, and this is, I mean, this is something that is tradable, I think generally, like this is a range here. Whichever side of that breaks first, I think is gonna kind of make the trend continue, as in if we break here and close back above 68, I think there's a good chance that we're gonna go back to the highs here, and I don't think they're gonna hold another time, because this is basically where bears are trying to put in a lower high, make this whole thing bearish, and then run away with the money, right? And if this fails, I think this is gonna fail, and then you're gonna just have a new high. But on the other side of the flip side of that coin is that if 65.3k fails, I think there's a good chance like we go back down here, and I think even if this bounces, it's gonna be short-lived, and then we're gonna go in between these, and we could bottom anywhere in there, but I think generally would break 60k. Are you staying in your Doge? Yes. I mean, I bought Dogecoin at like 0.16-ish. So like somewhere in here. And I'm down, like the Doge trade, and I'll just quickly mention it, we'll go over it in a sec. I'm fine with holding my Doge, and I would like it actually to go back below, like to 0.1-ish. Where I would add more, because I didn't get as much as I wanted. So I bought 0.16, a little bit higher, 0.16 something, and I would like to buy 0.1. So I'm holding my Doge. I'm just hoping to get more. I think it's a decent bet. But yeah, so Bitcoin, high time frames look decent, but the low time frames look very, like this just looks shit. There's no momentum on the bounce. There's a lower high, and a weak support here. That's not the best combination, in my opinion. Like that just seems like it wants to go lower. So yeah, and depending on, I mean, it's very hard to say how low it's gonna go if it goes lower. I think the lowest it can go is like 45, but I don't think that's necessarily gonna happen. I think 50 is a nice area to look for. If 60 fails, just go from 60 straight to 50 and then see how that goes. Hey Duck, when does uni start getting attractive for you to buy? Generally altcoins, right? To get a big altcoin position, I have to be bullish Bitcoin, or at least either be bullish Bitcoin or see retail be back, one of the other. So right now I'm dabbling, but I'm not really taking like too much action. Hey Dawn, do you have a high probability in the monthly holding for Bitcoin? Would be pretty bearish if we close under. No, the monthly time frame. I think a monthly close below 69 would be okay. A close below 60, that's where it starts getting quite disgusting. And then if you close below 60, I think this area gets interesting, like this one. But like if we close here and just do this, and then like that's good enough. That's not that bad. Generally, like high time frame wise, this is still an excellent chart, and it doesn't really look like it's blown off yet. So it doesn't really look like the final top is in. It just looks like it's it just looks strong, honestly, the monthly. The daily looks like it's just run out of steam and just needs to chill for a little bit, but yeah, that's that. Okay. How low is ETH gonna go? I mean, Loomdat's been bull posting ETH. I don't quite see it yet, but yeah, I don't know. I like 0.04. I think that's interesting. Like 0.036, 0.04, whatever. Like anything in this region, like anything in between those two lines starts being interesting. Like I think like a trend line like this that is so strong, failing here, right? Could take this quite a bit lower, but also can just be a false breakout, and if it comes back, that's good. But yeah. So is it possible then that the daily decline leads to weekly decline, leads to monthly decline? Yeah, but I like it the other way around better. Like when the high time frame is at a support, and I'm like, okay, now it can kind of snowball, you know. Whereas this time it would be like, okay, the daily looks like shit, but the high time frames look good, but they might fall, like they might roll over. Like I think that's a little bit more dangerous than the other way around. Like if you have a bad looking monthly, and then you look at the weekly and it's okay, but it could roll over, and then like you go this way around, I like it better. Like basically you have a monthly at resistance, you look at the weekly time frame, and that's kind of like somewhere in an area of interest as well, and the daily time frame starts showing weakness. That's something that I like, where it's like the other way around is basically you're just like, oh yeah, the 5 minute looks shit, so so the 4 hour is gonna look shit, and if the 4 hour looks shit, the daily is gonna look shit, so daily is gonna look shit, so the yearly is gonna be shit, so Bitcoin is going to zero. You know what I mean? Like that's easy to kind of just lose the sauce in. The other way around is much better. Will you actually buy ETH if the pair goes that low? Yeah, of course. If it's cheap enough, I find it interesting. Yeah. What are your thoughts on Pepe and Whiff? I haven't actually looked at them in like a week, but we can all go over them. If Bitcoin's weak, I think the meme coins are gonna suffer. I mean, everything's gonna suffer if Bitcoin's weak. And we had the fated Litecoin pump. Yesterday it was up like 15% or something, 16, 17% against the BTC. I actually bought some yesterday. That's basically retraced all the way to my entry again, which fair enough, doesn't, like, it's okay. But that's dangerous. As many of you guys know, whenever I talk about the cycle as a whole, like Litecoin is one of the last things to pump, and then it's fucked. So that's a little bit cursed. So you have Bitcoin daily looking like shit, and the Litecoin pump, not good confluence. Where could ETH be realistically in USD if ETH BTC goes to 0.36? I mean, 0.36 on ETH would be 20-30% away. So you just go to here and then you say, okay, 20-30%, that would be like 2.2, and then it just depends on whether you think Bitcoin goes up or not. So if you think Bitcoin goes down, then like anywhere between like whatever, like 1.5 and 2. If you think Bitcoin goes up, anything in between like 3 and 2.5. So depends is the answer. But bought the top at 68k and now invalidated. Do you usually close right when we close below, or hope we bounce here? It depends. It depends. But like oftentimes when I get invalidated, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna look for a little bit of a bounce. So for example, today, like if you bought here, right? Like if you bought the 68k flip, you're like, oh yeah, I like 68k. and then it nukes and it closes like this, so you're invalidated, right? Oftentimes, especially if it closes at support like it did, you're gonna get a little bit of a bounce. So intraday, you got a bounce towards 60, 67-ish this today, right? Like in the last couple hours, and that's pretty damn reasonably close, right? So if you bought 68 and you get out at 67, that's quite good. And then you spared yourself some nukage. So like that's like, if it closes at support, I oftentimes look at it and I'm like, okay, I think it's gonna intraday bounce, so I'm gonna get an entry, a better exit. But obviously, that can also just mean you get completely and utterly fucked if it just completely and utterly nukes, right? So you have to have a little bit of a balance. But if it's a close at support, I'm oftentimes like, okay, I'm gonna get a little bit of a better entry, exit. So, but it depends. It really depends, because sometimes you get nukes, and then you get nukes. And then you get nukes, and then you're sitting there and you're invalidated at like whatever, and you just don't close out. So can't be too lax with it. Remember when you said you'd never buy Doge or Litecoin ever again? I mean, I could see myself curse myself for buying those two shit coins. But it tells you something when I'm buying these regarding where in the cycle we're at, right? I think we're pretty late into the cycle. And I think like, if we're gonna make a new high, I think that's gonna be the last one, right? So if this nukes, similar to what we did here, look, similar what we did here, where we had, and this is what I mean when I say like these time frames, they kind of work quite nicely together. But similar to where we had like a high here and then rallied here before the nuke, I think if we're gonna make a new high, like let's say this nukes, goes toward 50, kind of comes back, rallies, I think that is basically gonna be the top before cycle ends. Gonna hold your Litecoin, or what is invalidation? Yeah, it's a tiny position. So I'm just gonna hold it for a while. My invalidation is basically back towards like 60, 70, which is quite a bit away. I'll talk about the Litecoin idea in a bit. I don't think it's the strongest one, but I think it's a nice late cycle idea. What does your gut tell you for Bitcoin? Do we see sub 60K? I mean, yeah, I think so. I've been generally, and I mean, I've been saying it in the streams, I've generally in this range been leaning a little bit on the bearish side of things. And yeah, I think it makes, what the fuck? I didn't even know that is how it also worked. Like you can change it like this. Interesting. Anyway, I think above 70, it just makes sense to be bullish for the last push of the cycle. But unless we're above 70, it makes sense to be a little bit cautious. Hey Don, so you got Doge, Bitcoin Cash, and Litecoin. The four horsemen of the apocalypse. Yes, it's always good, huh? If you if you want to end the cycle, you gotta do it yourself, huh? Nowadays. No 100K in the near future. Then I'm saying like, if this dips, this doesn't look like a pico cycle top. I think the rally that we could get after the dip could go towards like 100 or almost 100. But nothing's guaranteed, obviously. The down move is not guaranteed, and the 100K, like 100K is also not guaranteed. I think a lot of people are just kind of like tripping nowadays. They're like, I'm owed this by the market, and that's not how it works. So, but yeah, I think there's a chance we still, like, I think this is probably not going to be the high of this cycle. But I also think there's a very good chance, just looking at the daily time frame, that this goes lower. So no old season, or when do you see it? I think that would be towards 80, 90K, if we get there. Right now, like, retail is not really trading as aggressively as it has in the past. And maybe they don't come back. Maybe they do. Who the fuck knows? We'll see. But the market has been meme-centric, with a lot of crypto natives kind of rotating in and out of memes, and Bitcoin-centric, and that's been it. So you do like 52K? Yeah, somewhat. Retail is hard gambling on chain though. Yeah, but I think that's still mostly people from last cycle. Like, it's not like we're getting new people in. Most of the people are trading just traditional markets now. They're trading options on traditional markets, and I'm more interested in that. Like, the cycle seems pretty dry on a lot of things. Anyway, so that's Bitcoin. I think it's not looking good on the low time frames. It's looking quite good on the high time frames. So if this nukes, and I think it would be quite bullish if this nukes fast, relatively soonish, because, like, let's say this nukes aggressively in the next 2, 3, 4 days, right? Just completely breaks through 60K, nukes towards 50, but then starts walking back up again, and then you look at the monthly time frame, and you're like, I mean, that's just very, very fucking sexy, because then you walk back up, maybe you close even above 69K, and then the race is on towards like the new high. So that would be quite nice, but I don't fucking know. It's just low time frame wise doesn't look good, and generally with the degeneracy that I've been seeing in the market and in the comments and everywhere, right, what people have been trading, and then we can quickly look at it, WIF has been on an absolute tear, but that's kind of like, that's been nuking the last 3 days apparently. It's down 20%-ish. It's not that much yet, like, considering it went basically from nothing towards almost 5. But apparently Pepe is probably also not doing so well. Yeah. So the meme coins are kind of deflating a little bit. Dogecoin's also not doing so well. That's down also 20%. So generally that whole mania is like slowing down a little bit, but still, like, the effects of a bunch of people basically putting their entire net worth in this, that's crypto wide, and it's a little bit scary. Check base meme coins. Yeah, I know. I mean, I told you guys to go on base. That's been doing well, and I said that for a reason. I think I said it 2 or 3 weeks ago, before that whole meme came to be, where people were like, oh yeah, base season, whatever. I mentioned it weeks ago. You're not gonna see me trade these meme coins, but it doesn't mean I don't get these things. Like, these metas right now are quite easy to get. It's just, do you want to go that low and trade this shit or not? Don, when you say cycle top, do you subscribe to the 4-year cycle continuing? No, but I mean, you can just pull back for 2, 3, 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, and then come back up. I just generally think that's gonna be the top for a while. Whether we go lower or whether we go higher, I think around 100K, like 90. Like, if we go lower, it's gonna be easier to go a little bit higher. Like, at that point, I think 80 to 100K would be realistic. If we don't go lower and just go up, I think there's a chance like 70, 80, or 90K is the top, instead of like 80, 90, 100. And then I think it's gonna be shit price action for a long time. But anyway, like, I think at these price levels, you're gonna see altcoins go wild. They've already gone wild, right? It's just then you're gonna see a market-wide altcoin kind of mania. What about Litecoin? We can talk about it. So Litecoin I find interesting, like, but then again, like I said, I don't have a huge bag, and I bought it pretty much like, I think I bought it like at 96, 95, somewhere like there, which is probably going to be underwater quite soon. But that's okay by me. You look at Litecoin USD, I sold here, if you guys remember. Like I bought it at 60, 50, whatever, down here. Sold it in the hundreds. Maybe I sold this one. I don't remember. Because of the Litecoin halving meme. And then I was like, okay, I'm gonna give this another chance. And the reason why is just basically like it's been very cyclical too, as everything in crypto has been. So that's quite the meme, huh? So you have like an ascending meme triangle, whatever, here. That's kind of pushing up, and you have one here. So I think that's a decent-ish meme TA-wise. And then you have the whole ETF thing where Litecoin could be a candidate. I'm not necessarily subscribing to that too much, but I think a bunch of people will. So that's why I think Litecoin is a more interesting one than a lot of other things. Like the chart looks decent, and the meme is there. It's back to depressed stack again. Nah, I'm quite happy. Like it's just been I've been training for a marathon. A friend of mine signed me up for a marathon 3 months before the fucking marathon. So I've been training, and I have a newborn baby, and I've had a newborn baby for a year, so I haven't done any sports for a year, and very much not in shape for it. So I have to actually train. So if I sound depressed, it's because I'm running like 15 kilometers a day. Mic volume is extremely low. Adak is tired like Biden. Speak up. Let me check. It's as high as it goes, but my desk is huge, so it might be that it's a little bit too far away. Cannot change that right now. Wait, let me see. I'm back, huh? That person fucking rocked me. It's like, oh, your microphone is too quiet, and then I move it and it unplugs itself. I should be back. Yeah, that person rocked the shit out of me. I'm never falling for it again. So, I don't know how long I was muted. I tend to forget the time. But yeah, I said as long as this holds, I'm gonna be in the Litecoin trade. It's not a big one, it's rather small, but I don't necessarily hate this. Like I think generally this is a good meme towards like the cycle highs, but we'll see how that goes. Don's microphone problem is as old as Ethereum scaling problems. Yeah, fucking scammed. Every time. Every time someone has a problem with my microphone. But yeah, generally I think Litecoin is a risky trade because it's generally down only against Bitcoin, right? So you're betting for a counter trend rally, which is not necessarily the smartest. I don't think that's really good, but yeah, I'm not hating on it, but I'm not liking it like enough to take a big position. So that's that. Altcoin wise, I mean, Bitcoin Cash is interesting. Generally, that's been outperforming Bitcoin quite severely. I think if that pulls back a little on the Bitcoin pair, and you think the cycle's not over, this is gonna be one to buy, which is funny to say, but it's how it is. I'm not sure if I like to buy Sol or ETH dip more if it comes. I think the ETH dip is so much more interesting, but Sol's been outperforming ETH, so I could be wrong on that. Maybe I'm a boomer, but I feel much more secure holding ETH than I like than holding Sol, especially at these kind of prices. Daily close below 0.18 on Doge is a failed breakout and it's a short. Let me check. I mean, you could argue that. I actually don't hate it. Do you guys remember when we talked about Doge last week? And I was like, the guy was like, I FOMO bought Doge. Literally like, where was it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Literally on this candle. You like that was last week. And I was like, this is the one area where you don't want to buy it into because it's running into monthly resistance. Well, there you go. And this is why I was like, I hope the guy is still alive. 13 Crot says that was me. I'm sorry to hear it, bro. I hope my warning didn't fall on deaf ears, but yeah, it ran into resistance. It's pulling back a little. That's why I'm saying like 0.1, 0.12 is an interesting area. It's just like high time frame support, right? So maybe it rolls and does something like this. He says he sold 2 days ago. So you bought the Pico top. I mean, it's not that bad. Like 0.22 and you sold 0.2. Could be worse. I mean, if it goes to 1, you could still hold it. Yeah, I think generally there's a chance that like if retail comes back, and you can never tell, but I think if Bitcoin goes back up towards like 80, 90, it will. I think Dogecoin will be a really good bet. It's just, yeah. I've been with my girlfriend for 5 years now, but I'm actually gay. What do I do? Oh, that's a tough one, dude. You sure you're asking the right person? I mean, you gotta split up, bro. It's not what you do. It's not what you do. Cannot. Don't ruin your and her life, my friend. Not worth it. But yeah, you're asking the wrong fucking person here. But yeah, it's not worth, even though it's a joke question, and I know that I'm answering a joke question seriously, but yeah. It's like with trading, like just because you've been in a trade for a while doesn't mean an invalidation is an invalidation, right? And I mean, if you're gay, you're invalidated on the girlfriend, and if your trade is below your stop loss, you should be invalidated on the trade, A great trader should know when to pull the stop loss on the girlfriend. Anyway, there you go. When do you think Bitcoin will top time frame? I don't know. What the fuck? No, I don't want that. The cycle will be over and we'll still be waiting for retail. Maybe this is just going to be an institutional cycle and we just go up and it's just Bitcoin and memes and then we nuke. How certain are you of the Doge? Still feels like a given to 0.721. I think if this isn't a cycle top, which to me it seems quite unlikely, it is quite shit looking, to be quite honest, but Like this is just kind of shit when you get these patterns, right? Where you kind of chill in an area and then just make low highs and it just fuck off. Like that's just not great. You know what I mean? Like it's not great, but it doesn't have to mean it's the high. So I generally like think if we go towards new highs above 70 towards 80, Doge is a great bet. If you don't think, like if you think this is the high, then don't fucking bother. But then again, I generally think if this nukes and this is the high, or just generally once we have the high, there is a chance that we just straight up nuke without having like the old season, like we had it in the old days, if it nukes too early. And if it would nuke right now, I don't think it would get an old season. And the reason for that is that I think retail would just disappear again. They need to be sucked in more. And for some reason, the new all-time high hasn't done that. Will there be altcoin Thursday tomorrow? I do not know, my friend. I do not know. I haven't talked with Cred, given he's on travel. But if there will be one, there will be one. That's all I can say. It's not going to be live anyway, so you don't have to be stressed about it. In my opinion, there's nothing wrong with Bitcoin going sideways for a couple of months before mooning. I mean, that would be best. That'd be absolute giga chad. Like, I generally think, like, even if it pulls back towards like 40, which I think is quite unlikely looking at the low time frames. Look at the monthly, I think it's possible, right? Having something like this wouldn't be that bad. Like, if you get a chart like this where you just go sideways for like the rest of 2024, 2025, like that'd be so bullish. So yes, I don't disagree with that. It's just a question of whether we're going to get that or not. Maybe 100k and retail gets massively sucked in. I think at that point, yes. Are you short? No. I was shorting, but with tiny balances just for fun. Basically from, like I shorted here and then added here and added here, but it's tiny positions and it nuked. And I actually, like, I was like, this is not worth my time. And we started bouncing it. I was like, okay, fuck it. And then I closed it. So I didn't really like even get anything out of it. And then it completely nuked. Because I cannot really short with big balances. It's tax nightmares. But I had a little bit of fun, but didn't even get the move down. So if we nuke Doge at 0.1, it's theoretically not interesting anymore. Yes, I think it's still, like, I think Bitcoin, if it nukes, right? Like, let's say it rolls over, I think it's going to be a great buy anyway. Like, if you get to buy Bitcoin here or here in these areas of support, I think that's going to be great. And I think at that point, Doge would be trading at 0.1. And then I think Doge might be even better than a Bitcoin buy. You can short as long as you don't make losses. Exactly. I can short if I don't lose, which is not necessarily nice because if I lose, I get doubly fucked. So I only do it when I'm like reasonably certain that it's like above like 80-90% certain that it's gonna go down, and I don't do it with big size anymore. Wait, shorting gives tax nightmares, but same goes for long, right? Yes-ish. There's a few ways to get around it, but it's all annoying. So yes, I basically just trade spot nowadays. Can't you just not report taxes? Who are you? I do report all my taxes. Please don't fuck me over. No, I do. I actually do. I don't, like, the thing is like this, and I mean, you guys might think differently, but generally, like, there's so much free money in crypto, and we've all made so much money with crypto, I assume, where I'm like, why the fuck would I cheat on my tax forms? Like, Like, is that risk worth it? Like, what's the reward? Like, the risk is getting fucked over, like, quite substantially. Generally embarrassment and maybe jail time. I don't actually fucking know. But that's the risk, right? Just a major L. And the reward is what? More money? More money? I can live without that. So I'd rather, like, that risk to reward ratio is just not close. Not even, like, it's not even in the same league. Don has some intonation of sentences as Knausgard. I have no idea who that is. I always knew it reminded me of something and just realized now. Well, I'll believe you. I don't know who that is, though. I am a poorly educated German guy. Go to prison for a 10x, lol. Yeah, that just seems kind of dumb. Anyway, that's that. That's what we're at right now. I think generally this range is going to be the interesting range. The longer we are in it, the better for bulls. Because I think if this starts going sideways here, the chances of it actually going up increase with time. Sideways generally favors bulls at this point, I think. Yeah. If the range fails, I think we're gonna go towards the range low again, and I don't think that holds. I was wrong on that last time, and we actually did. It did hold for a second. We're back now, a week later, and I think it's still pretty much the same. So this support has to hold, even though it's really shitty, and we'll see if it does or not. Any other questions? Otherwise, I'll call it a night. What about the S&P? What if that tops for a little bit? Given how this looks right now, like Bitcoin looks a little bit weak. If the S&P nukes, there's a good chance that Bitcoin actually just goes with it. It doesn't look individually as strong as it has before. So I think it would be enough to take the market down. ETH? I mean, the ETH USD chart is uninteresting, in my opinion. We did have a few lines, and look at that. It got rejected at the line. It bounced from the line. That's great. But I generally think can be bullish above 4K, and maybe look for buys at 3K. But anything other than that, not that interesting. If 3K breaks, 2.5K. Like ETH USD is just a weird chart, and ETH BTC is just so weak that I don't think that's too interesting. It's only interesting if, I mean, where would this be interesting now that it failed? Yeah, I think generally interesting above 0.057. Get some sleep, Don, or else you will crash like Bitcoin will do soon. Need 8 hours of sleep, bro. I do get my 8 hours nowadays. The sleep troubles are a thing of the past. The only time, like the only reason why I sound tired is because I've actually been doing sports again. And when you go from nothing to something, after a while, it fucks you a little bit. But it's fun, so I don't mind it. How much down Litecoin can go? I think Litecoin can, I mean, I think Litecoin, like 80, I think is, I think like if you want to be a little bit more conservative, this has to hold, like 77, 80. Full marathon or a half marathon? A full marathon. I'm running a full marathon, which is a little bit scuffed. Like it's a little bit of a dick move to sign me up for a marathon. knowing that I just had a child and I haven't ran in ages. Like, fucking scammed, but it's okay. I'll do that, and then like I'll do it, and if I finish it, I'll do an Ironman after, like in like whatever 6 months or something. Because if I don't finish it, I'll hang my head in shame, but it's okay. I think 3 months are enough to train for a marathon and actually do it. So we'll see how that goes. Don talking like he gave birth. Oh, you guys are so nice. Such a pleasure. Anyway, we'll see how it goes. I'll keep you updated. If I never mention it again, I failed horrendously and embarrassed myself in public. Music or podcast while running. Right now I'm actually running on like in my gym ish, where I have like a TV setup. So I'm just watching anime. I watched Kingdom before. No, not Kingdom. What is it called? Not Kingdom. Shogun. I don't know how I got to Kingdom. Shogun. That's fucking great. Can only recommend. Good series. Still going on. I think there should be a new episode out. And then now I'm watching some anime. I'm watching what it's called, Jujutsu Kaisen, which is also great in my opinion. Kingdom like Lars von Trier. I actually watched Kingdom 2. I think there's like a series with zombies, I think, which is called Kingdom whatever. I don't know. That was decent-ish, not that great, but not bad. Sub or dub? Sub, obviously. I mean, I just missed it. Where did you embarrass yourself? I didn't embarrass myself yet. I might when I'm running the marathon in a couple of months. Anyway, yeah, I think that's it for tonight. I'm going to call it an early night. Thanks for coming by. I'll see if I can get Cred to do the altcoin episode tomorrow. I cannot promise anything though. And yeah, we'll see how that goes. Much love. Have a good rest of your day, night, whatever. Bye. Oh yeah, and before I end the show, shout out to Woo for sponsoring it. I wouldn't want to forget that one. Otherwise, I'm gonna get murdered behind the shack. Go check them out. Links are in the description. Much love. See you guys.